Hey, what's going on? It's Jason from Florida Lifestyle Movement. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back. You can see I'm in my office. It's kind of, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. I'm waiting to put my kitties to bed, and I figured I'd just shoot you a real quick video on what you need if you're looking to buy a house, especially if you're looking to relocate down here in Florida. What you gotta get, what you need so that your lender, me, or whoever you choose, so that we can write you an absolute bulletproof pre-approval where the listing agent is going to accept it and you have no worries of fallout or losing the deal. So, all right, buckle up. A couple things I want you to do. Grab a pen and a piece of paper. You can put this on pause. And if I'm going too fast, because sometimes I do talk fast, I'm going to run through this quickly because I got to put my 3 kitties, Alyssa, Jason, and Molly, to bed. If I go through it pretty quickly, you can always just push pause and rewind. So first off, what is in a pre-approval? What do we like to give? So there's 2 major things that I'm going to give out in a pre-approval. One is what everybody gives out, and the other is what you really should get, but a lot of lenders don't do it because they're lazy and they eyeball. So the first thing is you need a pre-approval letter. Basically says, Jason Eichmiller is pre-approved for a purchase price of this amount. This is the loan size. This is the approximate interest rate. All right, that's that letter, and it's going to be signed by the president or owner of the company. Could be a loan originator. It's going to have your letterhead on it, and that's well and good. But here's the problem with these. If you just provide a pre-approval letter, well, I can write a pre-approval letter for anyone. You can write a pre-approval letter for anyone. Anybody can write a pre-approval letter for anyone. If you really think it's just a letter, that's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. So what I provide, and every lender should do this, and the good ones do and the bad ones are too lazy to do so. But what I provide is I provide an additional letter, and it's from Fannie or Freddie. So Fannie and Freddie are kind of the big governing bodies here. And what they do is there's something called DU, desktop underwriter, which is Fannie, and LP for Freddie, okay? So what we do is we'll put all of your information that you gave us, plus your supporting documentation. So I'm gonna listen to what you have to say. I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions, listen to what you have to say, then have you send me or upload all of this documentation so that I can review it, check it off my list. Then I enter it into Fannie and Freddie's system, and then they will give me an actual, not a Jason Eichmiller Key Home Lending approval, but a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac pre-approval. That is so much stronger than a regular old pre-approval letter. Now, the reason why I include a regular old pre-approval letter in this whole thing is because some real estate agents, if they're new or if they haven't been trained right, they don't know how to read Fannie or Freddie, and they just want the regular old approval letter. But if you work with anybody, if your listing agent is anybody who's been around the block, who's a full-time realtor doing lots of listings, they don't just want to see the mortgage broker saying that you can do the deal. They want to see Fannie or Freddie putting down in writing that you can do the deal. And then, you know, it's bulletproof. All right, so that's what you're going to get. Now, here's documentation. This is what I'm going to need from you. Now, I'm gonna be kind of quick with this whole thing. So if I might leave some stuff out, like kind of on a granular level, but this is big picture. So first of all, I'm gonna need your driver's license. Yes, I'll have to see your driver's license. Second of all, I'm going to run your credit. Again, we're gonna run credit because of 2 things. Number 1, I gotta see what your credit score is. Credit score determines pricing. And the second thing is I'm going to look at your debt to income. So your credit report is going to have all of your monthly payments, and I got to make sure that your monthly income is enough to afford all those payments. So yes, we're going to run credit. Now, what I can do is occasionally, if you look very, very clean, I can run a soft pull, but most of the time it's a hard credit pull. But ask me the difference and ask me what we can do if you're concerned about that. You'll probably have questions like, wait a minute, if you run my credit, doesn't it drop it? The answer is maybe a point or two. And if you have your credit run all the time for all these credit cards you're applying for, then maybe a little bit more. But these credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they expect you to shop around. They expect you to get your credit pulled once or twice. So your credit will not be impacted by one or two credit pulls, especially when it's for a mortgage, okay? All right, hope that makes sense. So we got driver's license, we got social security number. Now, next, let's talk about your jobby job. Now, are you keeping the same job, or are you getting a new job, right? Because sometimes if you're moving from, like what I did, if you're moving from Pennsylvania to Florida, now I kept the same job, but some people, they'll get a new job. Hey, I got an employment offer down in Florida and I'm moving from New York. Great. So let's talk about employment offers first. So in fact, let's go before employment offers. Let's talk about everybody. What I'm going to need is, if you're W-2'd, I'm going to need your 2021 and 2022 W-2s, okay? Then I'm going to need your 2 most recent pay stubs. So last 2 years W-2s, last 2 pay stubs. Now, if you're commissioned or you get a bonus, then I'm going to need your 2021 and 2022 year-end pay stubs. And we can talk about it when we're on the phone. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but that basically shows a breakdown, a history of your commission and a history of your bonus. Why do I do that? Because the lenders, they're not going to go off of just the bonus from this year. They want to see a history of bonuses. All right? Hope that makes some sort of sense. So pay stubs, current pay stubs, year-end pay stubs if you're making commission or bonus, and your 2021 and 2022 W-2s. Now, if you're totally commission-based or you're 1099, we're going to want to see your last 2 2021 and 2022 tax returns. If you haven't done 2022, don't sweat it. Get me 2020 and 2021. And it's kind of like we underwrite those on a case-by-case basis, but we normally don't need P&Ls from this year. So that's what we're going to be looking at on a very high level. Now, if you're relocating and you're keeping your same job, let's use my example. Moving from 3.5 years ago, I moved from the Philly area down to Wellington, Palm Beach County. What we needed there was, I needed a letter from my employer, which is me, basically, a letter from the employer stating that you are able to relocate and keep your job, okay? So just a letter from the employer, you can relocate, you can keep your job, you can work remote, it's all good. Your pay and your hours aren't going to be impacted. Get that letter. If you got questions about that, go ahead and ask. If you're getting a new job, here's what's pretty neat. You actually don't have to start the new job. You can close prior to starting, all right? So how do you do that? What you're gonna do is you're gonna get your offer letter, and it's gotta be fully executed. Now, in case you're thinking about playing some sort of shenanigans, playing games, the underwriters will call a couple days before you close. They're going to call your employer and verify your employment. So if your offer letter says that you can start, but then you're not going to start, or you made it up, they're going to catch it, okay? So make sure you're on the up and up with it. And I'm sure you are. I'm just kind of telling you what you got to do. So that's if you're relocating and if you're starting a new job. Now, if you're keeping the same position and you're just moving from town to town or from house to house, don't worry about it. Again, just get me your W-2s, your pay stubs, your year ends if that's necessary, or your 1099s if your tax returns if you're 1099. All right, that helps. That's your pay right there. Now, obviously, that's a 10,000 foot level. Again, you probably have questions, so feel free to reach out, comment below, shoot me an email, call me, whatever you want. Smoke signals don't work, though. I'm pretty bad at reading them. So get in touch and I can answer any of your questions about that. Now, the second question is, where are you coming from? Did you own your house or did you rent? Now, what these guys are going to need is they're going to need a 2-year housing history. So just 2 years, okay? So I'm gonna wanna know if you're renting, cool. All I need to know is what your previous address is and how much you rented the house for. No documentation needed, don't really care, okay? Now, if you own your house and you're selling it and you're using the funds from the sale of your house to buy the new house, then what you're gonna need, and again, you don't have to have sold your house to get an approval, you don't need that. But what I'll need to know obviously your address, a mortgage statement, so I can see kind of what your expenses were. Then I'll need, if you're under contract already, I'll need to see a copy of the sales contract. And I'll need it to say, there's something called a net sheet, but normally I can do it with need the sales contract in either a net sheet or a pre-HUD or a pre-CD from the lender who's helping whoever's buying your house, their lender. So that'll tell me how much money you expect to get out of the sale. Okay, so we're going to take that. I'm going to say it's $100,000 out of the sale. I can take this. I can take the contract. I can take the pre-CD or pre-HUD. I can say dangle it in front of the underwriter's face and say, see, they're going to get $100,000 out of the sale. So this is where this $100,000 is coming from. And underwriters will say, okay, sure. Now, when we close, we're going to need to see proof that the loan closed, that the house sold, and that the funds went into your bank account and then went from your bank account until the title company's bank account. But we can worry about that stuff later, and it's super easy. Remember, I'm teaching you what you need just to get pre-approved, not to close. Again, super easy stuff. So that's if you're selling your house. If you're going to hang on to the house that you own and you're going to rent it out, then what I'll still need a mortgage statement if you got a mortgage on it. Need to account for property taxes, homeowner's insurance, and HOA if you live in an HOA. And that'll come normally on a mortgage statement if you escrow, or you can get me the tax bill and the homeowner's insurance bill. Then, if you're going to rent it out, what I'll need is just a lease. Get me a fully executed lease from your new tenant. Now, you're not going to get a deposit from them yet because you're still living there. Most of the time, the lease can do. Sometimes it gets specific, though. Again, call me, email me, comment below, and I'll learn about your specific situation and advise accordingly. Now, any other investment properties that you have, let's say a lot of the folks that I work with have multiple investment properties. Good for you, by the way. Real estate is a great way to building wealth. If you have your investment properties, kind of same thing. What I'm going to need is I'm going to need to know the addresses. I'm going to need to see the mortgage statement. I'll need to know the taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and the HOA. And if you've had those properties for over a year and you've continuously claimed out the income, I will need to see your previous 2 tax returns. So even if you're W-2'd, if you're claiming your other properties as income, and we need the income. If we don't need the income, I'm not going to use it. I'm a KISS guy, keep it simple, stupid, right? But if I need it, then we're going to go off the tax returns and we're just going to make sure that we've got the income there. So that's basically it. There's probably a couple different rabbit holes that I could go down, but I don't need this to be a 23-minute video. It's 13 minutes. It's way long enough. I wanted you to know, and this is for any time you're purchasing a home, whether you're relocating from out of state, whether you're relocating from a different city, or whether you're just buying the house down the street. It's all the same. And these are the documents that I need. I'll review them, and we will give you a perfect pre-approval. And what perfect means is that once I say that you can do the deal, and once it's backed up by this paperwork, number 1, Fannie and Freddie are okay with it, and number 2, this deal is going to go through. There's no chance of shenanigans. Now, yes, you might say it's a lot of stuff to get up front for just an approval, but don't you want to get it up front? You don't want to be guessing. You don't want this deal to keep you up at night, especially if you're moving. You want to be able to kick back, relax, and say, hey, Jason's reviewed it, Jason's got it. So, hope this helps. This is 15 minutes, way long enough for you. I didn't think we'd go this long, but I wanted to be pretty thorough in all this. If you need me, again, my name is Jason Eichmiller. Run this channel. I own Key Home Lending. You can get in touch with me at 888-309-9705. Again, 888-309-9705. 05. You can email me at jason@keyhome.life, or you can go to www.keyhome.life. Put in your information. We'll figure out a time to chat together. All right. Thank you so much. If you're moving to Florida from afar, remember, I did it. It's not as big. It's a big deal. It's great. It's awesome. It's an awesome adventure. But if you're making it a big deal in your head, I get it. I understand. But it's going to be easier than you think. Give me a shout. We can chat about it, even if it's not about the numbers. If you're not there yet, if you just want to talk about like your family and what you have going on there and where to move, like what areas you're looking at, all that stuff. Remember, I did it 3.5 years ago. I work with realtors all over the state. So glad to connect you. Glad to give you my honest feelings on each area. And then it's up to you to make your decision. So, all right, you take care of yourself. Thank you for your time. Now I'm going to put my kiddies to bed, and then they're going to fight with me and say, Dad, can I stay up and watch another hour of TV? And I'll say, probably, but then my wife Bridget will say, no, put those kids to bed. And I'll say, okay, yes, dear. All right, you guys take care of yourselves, and feel free to reach out if you need me.